Please have a seat. Folks, welcome one and all in here, out there, all around the world to The Late Show. I'm your host, Stephen Colbert. Let's get... Room's electric. Let's get right to it. The big story everyone's talking about tonight, a coyote and a badger have become friends. Look, he's saying, hey, come on, buddy, let's go. And they're off on an adventure. They're teaming up to finally take down that roadrunner. Unless the roadrunner has also made a friend. Maybe it's a possum. Doesn't that warm your heart a little bit? If those two animals can get along, maybe we as Americans, despite our differences, can also have a badger as a friend. Well, that's all for tonight. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for James Corden. Good night. All right, okay, I'm sorry. I'm being told that contractually I'm obligated to remain conscious and continue talking. Just remember, this next part wasn't my idea. Folks, I hope you're sitting down because I've got some terrible news. The news. And I'll tell you all about it in the final installment of our not long enough running series, Don and the Giant Impeach.
Constitution! Constitution!
Perfect phone call. Perfect phone call.
The douche wins!
It's true. Today, the U.S. Senate acquitted Donald Trump. So, there it is, okay? It's official. Nothing means anything. Right is wrong, up is down, Missouri is Kansas. Now we know that asking a foreign power to interfere in our election is the new normal. The Democrats have no choice but to do the same thing. Russia, if you're listening, I could really use that pee-pee tape. Milk, lemonade. Around the corner, justice is made. Now, Senate Republicans claim they're not setting the precedent that presidents are above the law because Trump is going to change.
I think that he knows now that if he is trying to do certain things, whether it's ferreting out corruption there, in Afghanistan, whatever it is, he needs to go through the proper channels.
If a call like that gets you an impeachment, I would think you would think twice before you did it again.
I think he'll be instructed by what has occurred here.
Oh, he'll be instructed by what occurred here because nothing occurred here. You know, there's a saying about those who fail to learn from history. I don't know what it is, because I failed history. The only lesson Trump ever learns is that he gets away with everything. Multiple bankruptcies, nothing. Multiple sexual assault accusations, nothing. He's in perfect health despite eating like a rat behind the Bob's Big Boy. Nothing. The senator who has most successfully talked herself into believing that she believes in something is Maine Republican Susan Collins, who last night said this.
He was impeached, and there has been criticism by both Republican and Democratic senators of his call. I believe that he will be much more cautious in the future.
In the future, he'll be more cautious and not get caught. By the way, Mr. President, if you need help getting rid of a body, I'm your girl. The secret is removing the hands and teeth, then killing the guy who sold you the shovel. There's a reason that the master of horror, Stephen King, lives in Maine. I seem really folksy, but if you listen closely to what I'm justifying, suddenly I seem like a skin bag filled with writhing tentacles. But... a little bit. Just a little bit. But that was yesterday's Susan Collins. Today's Susan Collins sees things a little more clearly. She now says she probably shouldn't have said she believes Trump has learned his lesson from the fallout from his dealings with Ukraine and impeachment. She now says a better word would have been hopes. Yes. And a better word for Senator Susan Collins would be former Senator Susan Collins. Thanks for stopping by. There's the door. Oh, one Democrat out there that folks weren't sure would vote to convict was Alabama Senator Doug Jones, given how popular the president is in Alabama. But he did, and Jones didn't want too much credit.
I am mindful, Mr. President, that I am standing at a desk that once was used by John F. Kennedy, who famously wrote Profiles in Courage, and there will be so many who will simply look at what I'm doing today and say it is a profile in courage.
Yes, so many will call this a profile in courage. So many will also say that I should be on the cover of Time magazine. Many more will say I should be people's sexiest man alive. And I understand where these so many are coming from, but please don't name an airport in New York after me. The vote on obstruction of Congress was 53-47, pure partisan split. But on the first charge, on abuse of power, the vote was 52-48. And on this dark day, there was someone I would like to thank for giving me a ray of hope. Utah Senator and dad explaining venture capitalism to your prom date, Mitt Romney. Romney's never been a really far-right politician. Mitt's never been a really far-right politician or a far-right Republican, but it was still shocking to hear him say this.
The grave question the Constitution tasks senators to answer is whether the president committed an act so extreme and egregious that it rises to the level of a high crime and misdemeanor. Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. Thank you. 3 little words can sometimes, yes. It's not hard.
No, just say
It's not much. It seems small, but 3 little words can sometimes be so powerful. Yes, he did. I love you. Chili cheese fries. Let's get high. Romney spoke the truth.
Corrupting an election to keep oneself in office is perhaps the most abusive and destructive violation of one's oath of office that I can imagine.
To which Trump replied, "Wow, you don't have much of an imagination, do you, Mitt? Because now that I'm acquitted, I'm going to violate that oath in ways that would make my old friend Jeffrey Epstein puke into a dumpster." Now, Romney, really?
I think that's the line.
Too soon?
They found the line.
Romney summed up the president's crimes easily.
The president's purpose was personal and political. Accordingly, the president is guilty of an appalling abuse of public trust.
Yes, that's what the impeachment managers were saying the whole time. Someone was actually listening to the substitute teacher, Mr. Schiff. You got through to the tall, quiet kid who has trouble making friends. In the back of the room. Quiet, handsome.
Come on, Mitt.
Here's the thing. This is important. Mitt knows this isn't going to make him any friends in the Republican Party.
I'm aware that there are people in my party and in my state who will strenuously disapprove of my decision. And in some quarters, I will be vehemently denounced. I'm sure to hear abuse from the president and his supporters.
He's right. The president will go after him. But I doubt Trump's going to find any Ukrainian dirt on Mitt Romney. Mr. President, yes, we have on good authority that once in 1997, Mitt Romney took a sip of coffee that he thought was decaf. Yeah. But Romney is willing to put up with whatever the blowback for this decision is.
Does anyone seriously believe that I would consent to these consequences other than from an inescapable conviction that my oath before God demanded it of me?
Yes, his faith compels him to vote for impeachment. And it makes sense, because the Old Testament does say you should worship God, not golden cows. So, why It's true. Reach your exodus now.
Come on now.
So why is he the lone Republican willing to go against this president that many other GOP senators have admitted is guilty? Mitt?
As a senator juror, I swore an oath before God to exercise impartial justice. I am profoundly religious. My faith is at the heart of who I am. I take an oath before God as enormously consequential. Were I to ignore the evidence that has been presented and disregard what I believe my oath and the Constitution demands of me for the sake of a partisan end, it would, I fear, expose my character to history's rebuke and the censure of my own conscience.
You know, in my own small way, I try to live my faith, and over the years, I've made a lot of fun of Mitt Romney. A lot of jokes about him. A dog on the roof, who let the dogs out, corporations are people, my friend, binders full of women, but, and I mean this sincerely, after seeing that speech, I would do all those jokes again because that's the oath I took. But I do want to say that was an inspiring speech because hearing Mitt Romney take his oath to God seriously was like finding water in the desert. Because we know Republicans are lying when they say that Trump didn't do anything wrong or that maybe he did, but he shouldn't be removed. Every person who leaves the White House and writes a book about it, or every journalist who gets to peek behind the curtain, like the two we had last night, they all tell us the Republicans privately are horrified by Donald Trump and want someone to do something to stop him, but they don't have the balls to say that out loud when it matters. That's why an oath is important. Now, oaths may not mean a lot to some people, but here's what it's about. When you take an oath, you can't think one thing and say another. You are asking God to witness on the pain of your immortal soul that what you whisper in your heart is what comes out of your mouth, though most of these guys are talking out their ass. Now, in Robert Bolt's A Man for All Seasons, the main character, Thomas More, is the lone voice opposing Henry VIII, a bloated, golden child who none dared gainsay, who destroyed anyone who did not follow him blindly, and then went ahead and destroyed a lot of people who followed him blindly anyway. And in the play, More says this to his daughter, Meg. He says, when a man takes an oath, he's holding his own self in his own hands like water. And if he opens his fingers then, he needn't hope to find himself again. Well, with the lone exception of Mitt Romney, I think the Republicans have just opened their fingers. They will be missed. So please join me in thanking Mitt Romney for being honest, for not lying to us or to himself, for serving the Constitution rather than that monstrous child in the White House. Why can't he be president? Thanks, Obama. And again, I didn't want to talk about any of that stuff. So, Jim, let's go back to our top story again because we have a great show for you tonight. Jim Carrey is here. When we return,